All right, mic check, mic check, mic check. Should be able to see the screen, all that. Welcome, welcome. Mr. Blue here, TradePhantoms. Live trading and analysis with yours truly, Mr. Blue. Let's just kick this thing right off here. Welcome, welcome, folks, on all the streams here. We got IGYTTT, all these streams. Phantoms here. Mr. Blue, today is going to be Thursday, August 28th, 2025. And I'll spend about an hour, give or take, go through some pre-market prep, starting with some futures. Carry that over into equities. We've got earnings for NVIDIA, Snow, a couple of big ones there, NVIDIA being the major one. So today's Thursday, the 28th. We'll dive into the charts, pre-market prep. And I'll just kick this off real quickly here before we get to the charts. Couple of noteworthy things here. Should be able to check everywhere, right? Audio good. What's going on, Jace? What's going on, Cisco? Went on to Theory. I see you on TT. What's going on? You inside a refrigerator? Yes, I am, because I'm too hot. I gotta cool myself off. Indeed. We got today being Thursday, August 28th, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do have pending home sales. We do have FOMC Waller speaking. That's not until 6 p.m. Eastern. So just take a note that 10 a.m. Eastern, we do have 30 minutes after the open prelim pending home sales. That's something noteworthy. Not too crazy as far as the impact, but something there. We did just have 8:30 a.m. Eastern prelim GDP and unemployment claims in the U.S. That was about 23 minutes ago. We'll see how, of course, we're going to be trading how the markets react and respond to that at the moment. Tomorrow being Friday, we do have core PCE, so put that on your radar. If you're trading tomorrow, we'll get revised consumer sentiment as well. And I'll be trading in the live room with the folks at Phantoms tomorrow, so we'll take care of that together. Before I kind of dive in here, Phantoms, the backdrop, main strategy is going to be demand and supply, institutional demand and supply, that is, top-down multiple time frame analysis. So if you can kind of see this here, this is kind of a cheat sheet, if you will, or a checklist, and kind of starting from the top-down multiple time frame analysis. So on my charts, you'll see a lot of orange color codes, yellows, and blues. The reason being is I color code these designated time frames. So anything that you see in orange is the monthly time frame. Okay, orange is monthly, yellow is going to be weekly, followed by daily. Daily color code is going to be blue. Monthly, weekly, daily, higher time frames rule all. Candlesticks, a bunch of fancy names, great. Forget the names. They're fancy and great, but location and context being most important. We want to be looking for these in the context of uptrends out of institutional demand levels. We got bearish candlesticks here, a bunch of fancy names. We're looking for these formations in context location. Typically, you want to be looking for these in supply in the context of a downtrend as we're entering a supply downtrend. Then we have this thing called liquidity map, and this is key here. And we discussed this, of course, well beyond the scope of the time that I have here right now. But I usually park this over here to the left. This gets spoken about at least once or twice. It gets brought up when we talk about where to buy, where to sell, the right timing, taking profits, stop losses, etc. Let's get to the charts here. I'll start with the S&P and with the major four indexes, I should say. So here's Think or Swim. It might be hard, a bit difficult to see, at least on TikTok there. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. So I got the S&P daily time frame upper left, NASDAQ upper right, Dow Jones lower left, futures this is, Russell 2000 bottom right, all daily time frames at the moment. Just really quickly, I'm just looking at the S&P. We're flat, basically up 0.04%. Nothing crazy there. NASDAQ basically flat as well, 0.03%. Dow Jones 0.12%. Small caps a little bit more stronger this morning, but weaker overall. Small caps, Russell 2000 up 0.47%. The S&P, the NASDAQ is going to be the main drivers here. Dow Jones and the Russell 2000 is just a little bit more of a lag, but kind of picking up a little bit there. If you could kind of make out what this looks like here, I'm going to drop down to smaller time frames, but here's a daily time frame of the S&P 500, daily time frame of the S&P 500. Here's the current price, so you can see we're flat, but we're holding slightly up, a little bit of a green bar, okay? But if I kind of go back, basically it's already Thursday, right, folks? It's already Thursday. And why do I say that? Well, I look back yesterday being Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday. For the most part, this market really hasn't been doing that much this week. Coming off of Friday, August 22nd, we had this massive big bullish bar, okay, after this pullback into the level of demand. Friday, Jackson Hole, Jay Powell kind of, pushed that market up. Still debating whether the first rate cut is going to be September or not. I don't want to talk about that at the moment right now. With more time, I do discuss that a bit more. However, the skinny, the takeaway from here is we have this big impulse move. Okay, it did not create a new all-time high, but we've just been basing this week, right? So we had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, essentially still basically inside, or not really. We're poking our head out outside of the Friday bar high, which is also last week's high, by the way. But we're just basing. But basing is not bad, right? So we've been having some intraday kind of like flushes lower, with the team in the trade room, for the past several days, whatever this week, we talk about how, markets in the S&Ps have been dropping just a little bit really quickly. And people are like, oh my gosh, should we short this? And I'm like, no, calm down, relax. We're still on the overall higher time frame uptrend. And so the point that I'm trying to make here is today could potentially be the day where we have an impulse, this big move on Friday, decent move on Friday, taking out prior day bars here off that 20-period moving average and demand zone here. But this could be the impulse, the basing, and then we could potentially have a bit impulse potentially today and or tomorrow. This thing's cooking right here, basing. And so basing is not bad, and we're in an overall uptrend, okay, a bull market in this. So in this environment. So again, the path of least resistance is going to be up, okay, less pushback, I should say, right? Not resistance / supply in terms of level, but path of least resistance. It's going to be easier just to push this right back up real quick for the S&Ps to mark out a potential new all-time high in futures. All right, I'll drop down to the smaller time frames in a moment, and we'll map out our what's called Globex traps. Here's NASDAQ daily time frame. Now, NASDAQ is a little bit more off of its all-time high. S&Ps are flirting with it right up here. NASDAQ is a little bit more off of that, meaning we're down here, daily time frame. Still holds true in the fact that Friday's bar or candle here, nice big bullish bar, what we call it positive COG, back above the 20-period moving average, hitting demand, didn't break any structure, base. Okay, NVIDIA earnings out already, not really much movement there, and this could be a potential basing and a break higher here. We do have a couple levels of supply above, which you'll see in a moment when I drop down the small time frames. It'll be a bit more cleaner, so y'all can get a bit more reference point. Okay, so again, bull market, right? We're basing and holding up that upper third range from Friday. So is today going to be the breakout day? That's going to be the question, right? You have to pay to find out. All right, we'll analyze risk and reward and take setups right off the open. Kirk, yep, I see you on YT. Abdul, if you don't mind me asking, which financial bank do you work for, Blue? I'm independent now. But I used to work for a firm in New York City, Quest Capital, many years ago, and they got bought out. It was a prop trader, not prop in the sense of these days prop. This was like 12 years ago, give or take. So it's a little bit more different. We didn't have all these online prop firms as we do now. So I was in the flesh in New York City, Quest Capital, but they got bought out. It was a smaller shop. They got bought out to a bigger shop. Abdul, I see that question on YT there. All right, so I got a monthly time frame here, weekly in the middle, daily, monthly, weekly, daily, very important. Even if you're short-term scalping futures, you need to know where you are on the higher time frames. I'm going to drop down as well, just giving you all the lay of the land here. The 60-minute time frame here in the upper left, 30-minute time frame bottom left. Good morning, Kurt. Good morning, Lily. I see y'all. Cisco. 5-minute here in the middle, followed by the 2-minute time frame here on the right. So 60, 35, 2. Always want to start with the higher time frames, drop down to the lower time frames. Okay, so we're analyzing our monthly, weekly, daily, but also dropping it down to the smaller time frames here. So we got the current time frame right now. I got a 1-hour time frame of the S&P futures here. Here's the current price, and one of the first things that we want to do is map out what's called our Globex high and Globex low, our overnight high and overnight low. Okay, so before I do that, typically I like to give a quick little recap of the prior day, but not too long here. Okay, so if you look at yesterday, here's the current price, but if I scroll back just a little bit here, we had a yesterday's Globex high, yesterday's Globex low was here. We kind of broke that intraday, right? And we had a little bit of a trap. We had a level plan down here, 64.60, this impulse basing impulse right here, because the setup is if we break Globex lows and we have an institutional level of demand below said Globex low, this would be what's called a trap trade. Okay, we're trying to trap traders who are trying to sell short as markets are going down into a level of demand in the context of an overall uptrend trap, right? Sweep. So we did that yesterday. We had a Globex low. Okay, we didn't quite get to the level during the regular trading session. Okay, but we just kind of grinded up, came up to the supply zone above the Globex high, and trapped up here too. But however, overnight, if you notice this, we had this level right here, 64.60 yesterday in the trade room. Okay, and that was the impulse basing impulse right below here. And overnight in the S&P futures, we tagged that and we ripped right off of that. Now that created what's called the new Globex low here for today, right? So that's actually the lowest low point for the overnight low. But I'm going to be using this here because that's where the most volume came in. So I'm going to be looking at this Globex low here, 64.70. Okay, that's the Globex low for today. Here's the Globex high, the highest point in the S&P futures overnight was up here, represented by that blue line, 65.06. And what I'm looking for here is in the event that we break said the Globex low here, 64.70, to have an institutional level of demand below that. And we do have that 64.60 right here where we have an impulse. There's a basing here, impulse, right? IBI. And even though that got tested, we tagged that right there very, very quickly last night. It just dipped in there and then took right off. So there's still will be some unfilled orders there, institutional wise, for a potential G trap long bullish 64.60 S&P futures again on a 1 hour time frame of the S&P. Okay, and now I got an aggressive. You can read that right there. Aggressive G trap long. That's aggressive because we now, especially now. Okay, we already tagged that. However, the overall higher time frame trend and structure is still up, up, up. So again, this is going to be buying at a demand zone in the context of an uptrend, which is the whole thesis to this. So if we break that Globex low, that would be that G trap. You can also reference. I got a couple reference points right here where we have a 64.45-ish, give or take, with this level right in here. Here's the current price here. So if we were to drop and break the 60 level, okay, we'd go down to the 64.40 level. There's a lot of time spent there. I want to be careful in the event that we do pick up some liquidity, some volatility. In the event that we do drop, which looks like it doesn't want to, but you want to prepare this. I have a daily low right here from Tuesday's low, and that could also be used as a quick little sweep liquidity-wise below that 64.30. Okay, so watch out. I would not put your stop loss right below there. In fact, I would almost suggest to almost put an entry point as we swipe that daily low for that liquidity. I know there's just a ton of liquidity stop losses built up right there. All right, so that comes in at about 64, call it 25 S&P futures. This will be a G-trap plus sweep. Daily low sweep. $64.25. All right, so it's not yesterday's low, so just say Tuesday's low, daily low. So just put daily low. Okay, great. Okay, so there's the lay of the land. Now we have so far overnight, we had a nice little drop, towards the end of the day yesterday, and then into yesterday evening. Okay, future trade overnight. We are grinding a bit more higher. We are making a bit of a higher high, higher low structure within the overnight session. That white line right there is VWAP. So it's VWAP walking at the moment right now to the upside. Okay, so now we do have supply above, but this is in the S&Ps. Okay, 6508 rounding up to 6509. Okay, to the upper left, that's the all-time high. So, just be careful with that because once we prop that all-time high, we're in the abyss, meaning that there's no objective level of supplies. We're at all-time high. So you're just kind of picking a number above to sell short into. Be careful with that. You don't just want to pick a number. We have more advanced tools here. Where I'll go into what's called the market maker options depth here in a moment, and we can, if we happen to make new all-time highs, okay, this is the only thing that we can really reference, okay, in terms of a level using options. Okay, SPX options that is mainly dominant for that. Okay, so all-time highs potentially pending in the S&Ps today. All right, so I'm not going to reference a sell short in the S&P futures. Okay, and off the open, I'll hopefully talk a little bit more about that too as I get through the options depth data there. There you go, Mark. I see you on YT, on the YT channel. The 60 handle was nuts, right? Do you only use 60-30 for zones on futures, Mac Beast? Great question, Mac Beast. No. I always get asked that question, what time frames do you use? All of them, folks. Okay, monthly, weekly, daily, 4 hour. Daily, 4 hours, 60, 4 hour, 30 minute, 5 minute, 2 minute. We want to know where we are on every single time frame. Okay, top down, multiple time frame analysis. Okay, so I'm mapping out. I mapped out a 60-minute demand level, right? Institutional demand level, impulse basing impulse, or drop basing impulse, drop base rally. Okay, but I'm referencing where that 60-minute or the 4 hour intermediate small time frames are relative to the dailies, weeklies, and monthly levels. Okay, so that said, here's NASDAQ futures. Here's NASDAQ futures. Here's the current price. Okay, and as you can see off of the back of Friday here, this is Friday's big move here to the left. We've just been basing, right? We've just been basing. This is on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now here we are Thursday. Okay, so here's the Globex high here. And by the way, before I just moved, this was the tight range yesterday, Globex high, Globex low. We swiped lower below this Globex low. This was the equivalent level in the S&P and the NASDAQ yesterday. Tagged that. I actually didn't take that one, missed that. Okay, rally back up. We actually went above the Globex high. Okay, broke the Friday's mother bar high as a trap, and then mean reverted again. Okay, so this market's been rangy. Again, the ultimate question is, are we going to break out today, finally, today in the NASDAQ and the S&Ps? All right, we'll see, right? Things are setting up to be that way, but we're not done yet with the pre-market prep. There's the new today's Globex high here today. There's a new Globex low. In the event that we do break Globex low, I'm still going to be referencing, this is a big level here, kind of crappy, a lot of time spent there. We've already hit that too, right there, if you can see that. So therefore, we would have to break this daily low and look for a potential liquidity sweep here at 23 through what is this, 23,350, right? 23,350. I have an aggressive note on that right there. In the event that we do snap that and get some momentum lower, 23,200 down here is going to be a lot better. I don't have an aggressive notation on that, as this is going to be lower on the demand curve down here. Okay. Now NASDAQ, we're basing. I do have kind of a couple levels above of supply. Okay, if I look at current price up and above, okay, I have a base drop right in here on a small time frame, 23,715. I have also 23,780 right up here as well. However, be extremely careful, okay, because this is a long base. The longer that the market's base, markets want to move, right? So the longer that this base is, the eventual breakout, if it does inevitable breakout, you typically would have, probability-wise, you never know, but probability-wise, stacking probability in our favor, you typically would have a bigger move breakout after it boils up. Kind of like think of it as an analogy, boiling kettle of water. It's boiling, boiling, boiling. That steam is building up, building up, building up, and then once it pops, it goes, right? Right? So pops goes the weasel. So this major basing here, we cannot sustain below prior day's lows. We're just sweeping liquidity lower, right? But we're just grinding higher, okay? So that said, be careful with these levels up to the left over here. To help y'all with that, okay, we talk a little bit more about this inside of the rooms, but we'll look for daily high sweeps. So if I look at these levels over here to the left, okay, my phantoms will know how to analyze the proper institutional demand supply. Be extremely careful with these levels, okay, as we pop, and this thing might pop out, okay, it might sift out higher time frame levels. So I have this daily high up here from last Tuesday, which comes in at about 23,000, call it 840. I'll bring that price over to the hard right edge. This is a daily high associated with a nice shelf where I could see a lot of traders having stop losses right above here. So that comes in at about 23,840. Okay, 23,840. So up here. All right, so let this thing snap higher. Okay, get long TP up here. If we capitulate up here a bit more, this will be where you'd sell to get exit longs and potentially take a G-trap short. I'm giving you the more conservative one there. These are going to be extremely aggressive. All right, this is NASDAQ futures. Joe Frank is real-time traveler. Real-time traveler. All right, mic check. Can y'all hear on TikTok? All right, some people are cool. All right, so that's NASDAQ there. Be careful with these levels here, 23,780. All right, gold futures lining back up, looking decent. 20 minutes before open here. Got monthly, weekly, daily. Gold still on the overall macro uptrend here. Got the monthly on the left, weekly in the middle, daily on the right. Kind of zooming in. We had a nice little positive COG in the daily time frame 2 to 3 days ago. Right, 1, 2, 3 go here on gold here futures, and of course we're still lined to the upside on monthly, weekly, daily, making higher highs on the monthly and the weekly here. Daily's trying to pick up some steam here too. Gold's very rangy overall, but picking up some nice little rally over this week. Okay, beautiful, just higher high, higher low. So we do the same thing here in gold. 1 hour time frame of gold. Here's the overnight high here. Here's the overnight low. Actually, in long gold at the moment right now. I actually took this positive COG yesterday on this break. Later in the afternoon over here. No, not this one. I'm sorry. This one over here. Apologies for that. There it is. I was hoping for a pullback over here overnight. So actually got long gold on this break and pullback over here. TP'd. So what I'm looking for now is if we were to break this glowback slow, which is right here, okay, this is going to be a nice G-trap right below here, folks. All right, so this is the one that I'm waiting for now. All right, so this is gold futures 1 hour time frame, 34.32-ish, okay, down into the 34.34. This would be a nice little G-trap long down here. All right, that's gold futures. All right, next I'm going to check. If you want to learn a little bit more about this, you can go to Phantoms here. This is the website there. All right, next I'm going to check VIX, VIX. What's going on, Meg? TradePhantoms here. All right, we check VIX. Volatility index of the S&P 500. The long story short with this is VIX down, market up, VIX up, market down, opposite correlation. This is 30-day implied volatility of the SPX options. That's a lot there. There's a lot more to this, but right now VIX is down 4%. Okay, VIX is on lows. Like literally, I think we're VIX on lows of the year. VIX are on low for the year. So, if there's going to be a day where the market's S&P is going to pop out a new high and Nasdaq's going to pop, that would be a day where VIX is on its yearly low today. Okay, so VIX low, market's complacent. Nvidia didn't do amazing on the earnings there, but we're gapping now slightly on that, but it's not up or down insane. And VIX, we got VIX down. So VIX down meaning market up. Keep it simple there. Now we're going to map this out on the smaller time frames as well. All right, so again, I will do this as the overnight low here, just like we did in the S&P, NASDAQ, and gold futures. Overnight high here. And I kind of just pin this. If VIX sustains low like this, and I don't even need it really to trend, or we don't even need it to really trend lower anymore. It's already low, low, low. All right, the VIX 14 is extremely low, relatively speaking. Okay, so I just kind of pin the overnight low to see if it will remain below the overnight low. If that's the case, it could be more bullish for the market. However, if VIX does spike up, maybe break the overnight high, and we were to happen to do that, okay, and we're staying above that and start to trend higher for the day, that could be more bearish for the market. So inverse correlation, right? Opposite, opposite, opposite. All right. So that said, we'll put a pin on that. This is internals. We'll come back to that in a moment. Okay. Getting back to the charts here, VIX. I'm going to go to SPY. SPY. This is ETF of the S&P 500. Okay. So we cover futures. All right. Map out some levels for the playing field. And we go over into the S&P, the NASDAQ, SPX, and some tickers, the MAG 7 for the most part, to map out some potential day trades right off the open. Here's SPY, daily time frame. Okay. Even if I let me put a weekly over here, just really briefly. Weekly on the left. What's going on, Bobby? Good morning. What's a G-trap? What's a G-trap, Charles? G-trap, Charles. Go to this website, Phantoms here, and find out. We have a whole class on that. Okay. But essentially, to answer your question, not to be weird, is to trapping essentially retail traders who are, for example, markets in a bull market, trapping retail traders in futures who are chasing price lower as we're entering a demand zone in the context of an uptrend. Okay, so people who are selling short, trying to be bearish in the context of an uptrend, trap, and they eventually get squeezed out. Okay, so people who are trading against the overall higher time frame trend. All right, but we have to put that into perspective. So I got a weekly time frame here on the left, all right, daily on the right, and as you can see, SPYs, again, we closed. SPYs are at all-time highs, right? And so we're gapping up at all-time highs again here in the S&P 500. Okay, this Friday's bar right here, we've just been holding inside of that upper third range here. All right, positive COG 2 days ago for a decent lead right there. Nice little fall through yesterday, even though it took a little while there. SPY gapping up slightly here. Okay, and I'm going to use this information as well here to take the SPX. SPX, the cash index for the S&P 500. Love trading SPX options, my favorite on the planet. So we're going to be gapping up roughly implied open, give or take 64.87, give or take. And what I do with that information is I go over here and I go to the options depth. Right now, this is more advanced. So if you're not a Phantom member, this might be completely over your head, and that's okay. This is more advanced. You got to understand options. Okay, we stress trading multiple time frame, multiple assets, stocks, futures, forex, options, even crypto, everything. Okay, Phantom's not just one thing. Staring at a chart on S&Ps all day, just trading one thing. Okay, multiple asset classes using options to help with futures, futures to help with options, currencies to help with everything as well, right? In addition to all that, what I'm just talking about here is a key takeaway is this is the market maker gamma exposure. Okay, so I have calls in blue in green over here on the chain, puts are in red, everything to the right is bought, everything to the left is sold in terms of options. Okay, the skinny here, long story short, is we're going to be implied open, give or take about 64.85. Okay, so I'm going to kind of zoom in here for a moment and give you a couple of key takeaways here. And so if I look at 64.85, we're opening at or around here, give or take, on the options depth. Now, if I look above price, I have these bought gamma nodes, bought call gamma nodes here from the market maker's perspective above price. That comes in at about 6,500, and it comes in about 64.90 here. So as we even though we are gapping up, we do have a couple of positive gamma nodes as price moves up into these positive gamma nodes that could be used as some kind of resistance / supply, at least in the beginning on the market open here. Okay, so that's one of the things that I'm going to be looking at here to be a little, I would not cautious, but I want to make sure that the market makers are not going to be dumping too much on their hedges as we get up into that 65 handle where that has the bigger gamma node there. Now, I did investigate this a little bit more as well. I went to the customer profile on this. I'm going to do a whole class on this too, folks, but for the Phantoms members. But there's some sold calls here, but it's for retail 6,500, and that's what's creating that positive gamma there. Okay, but it's spread between multiple customers here. But I don't have enough time to explain that right now. Okay, but even though the market maker gamma exposure is pretty heavy here in terms of that bigger line here, it's spread between different customers here. But again, I probably shouldn't even mention that right now. Just know that this is going to be giving us a little bit of supply/resistance as the SPX comes up into the 6,500 handle today. All right, so typically I'll put like a blue gamma node right up there. Okay, again, if I might have been speaking a different language to folks that don't understand that, but because it is literally a different language. All right, but you know, if you want to learn, we got you covered there, Phantoms. Right, so my Phantoms group will know. Lower, before I move on, yeah, Charles, yeah, if you go there, Mr. Green or Mr. Black, I think it's Mr. Black today on Thursday. Good question. All right, what about blue on the yellow on right? Yeah, great question on TikTok. Anything that you see in blue is the daily time frame. Anything that you see in yellow has to do with the weekly time frame. So I color code. All right, that's just last week's high, and we're starting to pop above that here on the SPX. All right, so that's the color code sequence there. All right, lower. The opposite depth profile. There's really not much major positive gamma below, but I'll update that as the market opens. You see, we got 12 minutes before Fed open. So let me continue the process here. I'm going to go through some tickers here, go through some gaps. All right, so there's SPY, we already covered SPY. Here's Qs, QQQs, the ETF for NASDAQ. Weekly on the left over here. Daily on the right. And NASDAQ, we have last week's high here, last week's low here. We're still inside of that, so NASDAQ's a bit more lower off the high. There's the all-time high up here in NASDAQ, right? So there's Friday's bar. So we're just leaning against this bar, okay, this candlestick, what have you. Leaning against that, there's the daily time frame there. That's Friday. All right, and we've just been basing. Now NASDAQ here, okay, close here. Nice little decent bullish close yesterday. We're gapping up here. Okay, we're gapping up here. Now we're not taking out last week's high or anything like that, but make sure you have on your radar up here last week's high on QQQs 577.85. We also have a daily high right up here too. Okay, so in the event that we rally, I'd want to be long. This would be areas where I'd be starting to TP, take some profit, take some profit, take some profit. Okay, and again, remember the NASDAQ futures. This is recorded on YT. If you're on TikTok, you can go to the YT channel. Okay, I'm abbreviating that. You know what I mean? The YT channel out there at TradePhantoms. This is recorded, so you can line up the NASDAQ. Remember, I was mentioning here in the morning or earlier with NASDAQ futures, where to help us in the event that NASDAQ does pop off this basing here. Remember, I mentioned that these levels right above the Globex high right here might be a bit more aggressive because of that boiling steam of water example, right? Steaming kettle, right? Where if it does pop, it'll pop. Now I'm going to be using the higher time frames, meaning last week's high in the QQQs, which is up here, okay, which is last week's high is going to be Monday the 18th as a potential sweep. Okay, so I want to be long here, TPing. We have a daily high here from last Tuesday. We could TP, and I'm looking for a higher time frame, which was going to be last week's high, potentially to dump my longs, okay, or take a good majority out of my longs out, and then this would be potentially where I could take what's called a G trap short for what's called a mean reversion. Okay, my Phantoms members will know kind of what I'm talking about there. Okay, so be patient with that. Okay, be patient with that. That comes in at about 577.73 on NQ. Okay, and that's Monday's high, which is of course last Monday's high, which is going to be last week's high. Now, if I go back to the NASDAQ futures, go to Monday's high. Okay, Monday's high in NASDAQ is going to be right here. Okay, so I'm using QQQs, which is the ETF of NASDAQ, to help my NASDAQ futures trading. Okay, so this is QQQ, the 23,008, call it 80, 23,880, 23,880. That's where you're going to have QQQ weekly high confluence. So all we're trying to do is find confluence. All right, so bullish on equities at the moment. This is going to be the QQQ last week's high sweep. I'll put that in yellow, meaning weekly. And so it also sticks out a bit there. All right, so we have to grade levels. Not every level of demand and supply is going to be good. So we need to qualify those levels. That one up here, NASDAQ futures, back to NASDAQ futures on a 1 hour time frame, there's current price. If we were to rally up there, okay, that 23,800, call it 75, 23,875. That is going to be that confluence area there. All right. Okay, I'm understanding. Good. That's good. It means I'm speaking somewhat of decent English here, right? Which I barely can. All right, looking juicy here. If we make a new high here on Globex highs, I would suggest if you're already long NASDAQ or S&P futures, what have you, 8 minutes before the open, if we pop new high here, go on a TP, take profit campaign as we get a little bit more away from the mean. All right. So this Q's. Apple. Okay, I'm going to go over the Mag 7. Options are super liquid for the Mag 7. Weekly on the left, daily on the right. Apple, not bad. Kind of big move breakout there. All right, got infused with some monies there a couple weeks ago. Other than that, on the weekly, we've been sideways on the weekly time frame for what, 1, 2, 3 weeks, give or take. Daily time frame, however, nice little close yesterday, right? Swept. I like that sweep yesterday. We had an inside bar yesterday, but we broke out of that, swept, okay, below some monthlies. I have monthly level, daily levels right there, then close right there. So we had trapped the prior day and we had fall through yesterday. Apple right now, closed there. Side gap up here, a little bit of fall through. Reference that last week's high, which is right there in yellow. So in the event that you are long, make sure that you are TPing, taking profit up here. Okay, now just because we're gapping up does not mean that we're going to be continuing up. We'll see how the intraday tape opens up. Okay, on the small time frames, right? This gap up, we could be using this potential retest of yesterday's high and/or this gap fill potentially as a potential trigger entry as well. Okay, to get long. Amazon. I'm actually long Amazon already. Was long yesterday. Took some profit, then kind of just died out, and I left those contracts on. All right, my Phantoms group will know. I have that sitting right here. Whatever, I don't waste too much time on that. Okay, I still have that. Right, so yesterday's close. Nothing too crazy here. Weekly, we've been, Amazon's good still, right? High, low. Is it going to join the all-time high club? I'm hoping. We'll see. Inside bar on the weekly after earnings a couple weeks ago here. So we're still inside bar from like weeks and weeks ago. However, again, leaning on this Friday's massive positive CFG coming off of this demand level right here and some weekly VWAPs, etc., monthly VWAPs. We'll see if we can potentially get some follow through, right? So again, just basing here, we'll see if we get a pop. In terms of the gap, slight gap up, it's not much of a strong gap here. Okay, but if we're all long, all right, and we do pop above yesterday's high, I'm going to be going on a take profit campaign right here, 230, and then again, if we can get up into that last week's high, if in the event that we do fall through, I'm going to be TPing those longs from yesterday's carryover options trade. AVGO, I actually snuck into AVGO yesterday pre-NVIDIA earnings. I'm long NVIDIA, by the way, earnings. I do have this. I got into this after the trade room was closed yesterday, but I picked up the AVGO. Now you might be able to not see it on TikTok there, but I got you see that right there. I got the label there, 305 half. I'm sorry, 307 half strike call that I picked up yesterday in ticker AVGO as it's a semiconductor play as NVIDIA had earnings, right? So I bought these options expiring on Friday just for a quick little pop on in the event that NVIDIA popped. Got these for 228. We'll see what these open up as. So this is AVGO ticker, right? One of my favorite stocks to trade. And monster beast, right? All-time highs. One of the strongest stocks, the best performers in the S&P 500. Just insane, right? So nothing's going to, not hard to stop this thing, not shorten this, right? So got long, right? And we'll see yesterday's close here. We are going to be having a gap up. Now I do own this. What is it? 307 half strike call. I bought these yesterday, and now we're gapping up off this. So yesterday's close gapping up. We're gapping up about, give or take, what, 4 points, 1.3%. So I'm going to be taking profit right off the open here on AVGO ticker as I got that move. These options are expiring tomorrow. Okay, so I'll take profit right off the open here. And then in the event that we can get up into last week's high, okay, I'll take some more profit as well. However, just because we're gapping up does not mean that we're going to continue up. Okay, in the event that we do gap up, we could be looking for this potential retest over here from yesterday's high. That's why I'm going to be taking some profit right off the open. Okay, in the event that we pull back a little bit there. Okay, I might just be adding. I'll take some profit. Okay, but then if we pull back, all things equal, if the intraday tape is lining up good, I have no problem getting back long or adding into that more. Okay, to milk the trend. We are still, albeit too, within last week's high and last week's low. But we had a nice swipe lower fast down there last week, which was beautiful, taking out some weekly levels down in here, capitulating. We were getting long down here as well. That was last week. Okay. So that's that. AVGO, one of the strong ones off the open here. But be patient with that, of course. Google. Let me do NVIDIA first because that had earnings, of course, right? Hey, Money Mike on YT. What's going on, bro? AVGO got a little squeeze on it. Money Mike, I see you. What time frame do you use for futures? All time frames, monthly, weekly, daily, everything, all time frames. On TikTok, great question. All time frames. You have to break it down, multiple time frame analysis, folks. Break it down, multiple time frame analysis. Retail traders love to use like small time frames, staring at 1 minute, 2 minute time frames all day. All right, my favorite time frame on the planet is the monthly. The monthly. All right, been doing this for 16 years now. All right, Wall Street and back. My favorite time frame is the monthly. But you're scalping S&P futures for like a couple of ticks. You're still looking at the monthly. Yes, because I need to know where the big institutional traders are. All right, where the big boys and girls traders are, where the big money is. Higher time frames, monthly, weekly, daily. All right, in fact, they set a lot of traps around those monthly, weeklies. All right, don't take my word for it. Look at last week. Google the prior weekly low got taken out. Swipe. Okay, retest level down in there. Hammer bar, inside bar, break, new high. Next later. So it swiped last week's low, and then that set up a new higher high for this week up here. Right? Does that make sense? So if you're looking at a small time frame, within 1 minute and a 2 minute time frame, and you're like, oh my God, Google's getting destroyed. Let me short Google, one of the strongest stocks on the planet here. Okay, in the context of an uptrend. Okay, you deserve to lose money because you're selling down as it's coming down, red bar down in the context of a demand zone, in the context of an uptrend. What are you doing? Right? What are you doing? Right? The trade is north on the higher time frames. Why? Because the monthly, weekly, daily is up, but the 5 minute, the 2 minute was going down. 2 minute was going down, and it's a small time frame. Okay, so you need to know what you're looking at. You don't want to run into a wall, right? Small time frame. Imagine running, looking at your feet, not looking up ahead of you, right? You don't want to do that, right? The higher time frames are going to give you the path. The smaller time frames are going to give you the entry. Wow, that's a quote. Google, inside gap here, inside gap to talk about here, other than massive bull, right? All-time high now, new all-time high here, weekly on the left. As far as the gap, nothing much here. So we're gapping down slightly within yesterday's range. And unfortunately, within Google, even though I love it, here's Monday's bar, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, meaning yesterday, right? Even Tuesday, the day before that, is still all inside of Monday's bar. So Google's on an inside bar setup right now, so you have to be extremely patient. Google, once you get more experience with tickers and trading certain setups or certain tickers, they have some, a kind of their own vibe. So Google is kind of its own thing. Like it won't do nothing in the morning. Markets will be bullish in the morning. Google won't do nothing. Then all of a sudden, late day, it'll just pop. Okay. So, anyways, that's too much. We just have the open right now. I'm supposed to do NVIDIA. I'm going to get to that too. All right, but just real quick, I got AVGO here. The plan off the open. Just really briefly, give me a moment. I'm a real trader. So I gotta just manage this real quick. I'm not here for to be famous or anything like that. So I got these calls here. This is AVGO. So this is the one thing that's kind of working out here too, off the back of NVIDIA earnings. So let me grab this real quick here. All right, take it out of my other account. I still got some Amazon here too, but let me take this AVGO. Quality Transportation. I know who you are. What's going on? I see you on YT. Hopefully you're well, brother. Weapons of Mass Destruction. WMDs, brother. Hopefully you're well. I see you. You know I know you. And that was quick. So I was long, and so I just took profit on those calls. Let's see if we can find something here new for us folks here. Right out the gate. Boom. NASDAQ pop TP. And there goes the pop on NASI, yeah? Y'all getting that? Microsoft, long call, strong. Average off the open here. I have these NVIDIA long calls. I'm getting Vega dumped a little bit here, right? So I got these NVIDIA. I'll get to that in a moment. Microsoft long call. Let me grab this here. Intraday. It's going. So long call MSFT. Take a swim here. Friday's expiration will be a quick little day trade here. Microsoft trading 509, give or take. So if you wanted to pick up the at the money long calls here, about a 47 delta, 510 strike. Microsoft going for 265 on the premium here. All right, they're pulling back a little bit. I'm going to right click, copy this code, and bring this over into, copy this on the chart. This NVIDIA earnings. I'm down 2 points on one of those. We take this, put that here. This is going to be a long call on MSFT. Get it now. I'm also going to put a pullback order in down here. So this is a 510 strike call on MSFT ticker. All right. And I'm going to put a pullback order. I just got filled there at 250. I'm going to put a pullback order here on premium here too at the this is Friday's expiration, the 210 premium price here. So I'm going to limit order into at, okay, to Microsoft. Long call. Google looking good too. Amazon still long. Take profit on Amazon if you're still long on that from yesterday. All right, let me get long here. All right, so that's a limit that I'm in already here. Google doing this thing here, wide range bar. Google long call. I don't want to chase that too much at the moment. Amazon, if you're in Amazon from yesterday, doing decent there. All right, let's TP some MSFT here. All right, let's take some profit here for a quick scalp off the open here. NASDAQ, S&P hitting a level, TP. All right, I'm going to unload some more Microsoft. I'm going to unload some Amazon from yesterday's carryover. All right, Amazon. Make sure you're TPing Microsoft, etc. Broadcom wide range bar about to pop. 1, 2, 3, go. Pattern on AVGO ticker. And Meta. Google. Broadcom. Already own these. Yeah, Meta's ripping. Mark Wahlberg had a swipe low, yesterday's low. Triple there. I want to be patient with these here. All right, this Microsoft just got filled and added down here, right? Let me make sure I got my other account. So this filled loan. AVGO got a 1, 2, 3 go here. Long call AVGO. Google on fire. Amazon looking juicy too. I should have already added an AVGO there. What was managing Microsoft. So let me roll these here. I'm going to pick up the 312 half on ticker AVGO here. There might be some questions in the chat, folks, but I'm live trading, so you know I gotta stay focused. I'm even missing a couple of setups here because I'm streaming multiple. I feel like an astronaut right now. All right, that's AVGO. Should have already added on this. This could have been a better pricing point here. It should be already all long these at 160 handle on the actual setup. But let's see. I gotta check internals. I didn't even check internals. So right out the gate, there's this 312 strike. AVGO Friday's expiration day trade. Hit it. Great one. I see you on TikTok. My man went from not a trader to a beast in a good way. The great one. The man. That's AVGO. Definitely could have got a better pricing on that. We'll see if we can pop out new high. We're going to TP. Take profit if we get some fall through on this. All right. So blue is buys. Reds are sells here. All right, so we get some fall through. Hey, Singapore, I see you. off this wide range bar. Be patient with that. All right, we'll see. Actually, this is an ad on VWAP on AVGO, which I'm going to do. Boom. Adding to AVGO. So added. Yep, I see you, Quality Transportation, which is not your name. I know your name, but yeah, man, that's good, man. Miss you too, brother. Because I'm streaming on so many platforms here, Google TP, if you're in that. Here comes AVGO. TP some AVGO right there. So you see how you pulled back into VWAP? I added. Now buy low, sell what? Buy low, sell high. Okay, hit it. TP. Doink. Hit it. Hit it. Right? All right. Make sure you're TPing AVGO. All right, Microsoft, that pullback ad, you see the markets are slowing down just a little bit. Let's see, where are we at? Microsoft. So this Microsoft ad, 211s. I don't know if anybody took some profit on that. I'm pushing back a little bit here on that. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, Aiden, it's funny. I didn't even check that, which is not cool. Google, awesome. If you snag some Google. Tesla not giving me anything. Google was nice follow through. See Meta. I like how no one questions how you keep up with 30 charts and 5 different live chats. Yeah, my brain is I'm not normal, I guess. I don't know if that's good or bad. But I do this. That's what I do. And Google, view. Microsoft complete fade at the moment. So that's a little annoying. Google is the alpha so far. So this ad on Microsoft here, not looking good. All right, near spies. Yeah, look at internals. So Microsoft would be patient with that, but that's going to be most likely a cut there. There's my internals page. All right, there we go. Shout out Aiden on YT, bringing us to the internals here. Picks us up on the tick here. It's on an uptick here. Right? We're not taking out yesterday's high or anything like that. Advanced declines opened up positive, but slamming lower a bit there. Still above the zero line, but not looking so good. All right, so that lets me know that the overall market, say for example, the SPX equal weighted EW here, equal weighted, not having a good day. So this is mainly FANG, the Mag 7 mags, okay, that are holding things up a bit here. AMD trying to pop a bit on dailies. Let's see if AVGO can take another pop. It's AVGO's and Google's world at the moment on Mag 7. All right, S&P's G-trapped a little bit here, right? NASDAQ. Yeah, I'm not too concerned about Microsoft at the moment. I bought these uplands for 211. They're down to 146. TP, some been added at the 211 handle here. But very similar to, I should have had TP'd some AVGO here. Equal too high, you got to let go. So we're going to make some profits. So you can see it kind of slowed down a lot so far this morning. Make sure you're TPing some AVGO. But Microsoft, I'll get to Microsoft in a moment, is trying to set up for a bit of a swing. But we don't have proper 100% alignment with Microsoft at the moment. Make sure you're TPing a lot there on AVGO. Oh, come on. I'm trying to, this thing's frozen here. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. Here we go. So Microsoft. I'll just go ahead and one thing we can do on MSFT. So just massive, right? Massive rally off of the April low there. Crazy, right? Earnings blew up on earnings. You got a monthly on the left, weekly here, and then daily on the right. Earnings weeks ago, boom, big gap up, but we've just been on a fade on that now, right? So far. Now I do have this monthly low down in here. Okay. So if I were to put like an orange line, I know it might be a little tougher to see. I got this monthly low right there. It's going to be curious to see if we can swipe below monthly low, but we're going to have a new monthly close in a hot, quick 2 days from now, or tomorrow being the last trading day, August 29th. Next Monday is September 1. Why is that important? We are going to be entering into a new month. So we are going to have what's called monthly bar closes. Monthly bar closes basically this Friday, right? So over the weekend, make sure you sit your butt down, okay, and go see how your candle, your monthly bar has closed. So this will be at or around, like, let's say we don't make a new low in Microsoft here for the day. This could be a potential monthly low, right, for the month of now August. So they could potentially swipe that below here. So that's one of the things that I don't like about maybe holding the position that I have on here today, intraday, right? Because I'm looking for a potential monthly close here and then a swipe below last month. So we have this July low right down in here as well. All right, so my Phantoms members know how to like manage what's called a sweep. Okay, but that's one of the things that I'm should I hold this Microsoft long calls for tomorrow, even though they're getting faded lower? Well, we're not 100% aligned here on versus something like AVGO or Amazon. Microsoft is below certain levels from the higher time frames that make it not aligned. So that's the only challenge there with this. However, we do have a positive COG in a decent location on the week. Now, there's no structure of weekly demand here, but we're close to these monthly lows from July low down in here, and we do have a positive COG here, right, on yesterday's close. Okay, now we're kind of just, we moved up a little bit here, tag that 20 moving average right here, and we're coming back off of that. So if you wanted to hold these for tomorrow, you do have this positive COG to lean against. Okay, but we'll see. Those are getting faded out at the moment. All right, now we just took a clip lower, so in which I missed, which I don't really like at the moment. So let me update this. Come on. Yeah, Money Mike, exactly. Meaning, chat. What he's saying in the chat is it's end of the day on Microsoft, right? So you can always wait for that bar to close. Now we're dropping, right? But let's put this into perspective. That's what I'm trying to do here. But again, since I'm streaming so many platforms at the moment, my computer is like 3 clicks behind of where I want it to be. So I'm just trying to remain patient there. We have a sold put credit spread lower down here, anchored 64.40, creating a massive positive gamma node here below price 64.65, a little bit of a positive gamma node right there. So 64.65. Put this drop in the S&P 500 into perspective. Google on VWAP ad. All right, here's view up here. So what do we say? The first bit of a positive gamma node here, which I'm going to confluence, is going to be the SPX 64.65 handle. Not a massive gamma node, but the SPX 65 handle here. Somebody said, "Are you in a refrigerator?" Yes. Google. And Google doing its thing. Yeah, Google's doing its thing there. My NVIDIA earnings credit is working, but the long calls are not. Google had a beautiful VWAP ad right there. But let me prep this SPX. If you snagged Google on this pullback into VWAP, equal to high TP sum there, liquidity map style, right? All right, so SPX. A 45 handle. No, 65. 65. So we get this week's VWAP right here. All right, if you want to try to take a quick scalp put here, little spies. I'm going to prep the SPX at the 65 handle. It's not closed yet as a negative C or G. If you wanted to pick up some SPY, 640, 645 strike puts lower. So it's got long some SPY puts while I prep this SPX handle here. All right. All right, this is long put, which is bearish. But I want to be careful with this. She got some TPs up here. I did in SPY and not SPX. This is bought put bearish, negative C or G. All right, this is this week's VWAP here. So we got a TP as we come down into here. So I put this red is in bearish, and you sell short, and then we got a TP. Now bottom cover from shorts down here. So they're coming lower, bottom cover, right? Buy low, etc. Now, interesting, we got yesterday's low right here, SPX 6457 handle, right? So we could be hunting for a potential yesterday's low liquidity sweep lower, right? Does that make sense, team? All right, so we can work on this here where we have negative COG, we need some follow through TPTP, and this is a bearish trade in the context still of an overall macro uptrend, right? So if this, if this negative COG does not fall through, okay, I'm gonna have to just cut out of this. It's a stop loss, right? All right, and I wouldn't be surprised one bit if that happens. Okay, now as we come down here, body cover, body cover, body cover. Okay, what I could set up is a buy to enter right below yesterday's low. We do have a little bit of a sneaky level here, but if I look at this, this is where the real kind of pop, if you will, happened here in terms of demand. I got a 1 hour time frame here on the SPX on the left. I hate when these circles do this. There we go. So right below yesterday's low, here we have a basing, right? A drop, a basing, and a nice little rally. Now this popped out into a new high here, right? So this is a nice little sweet spot right there. This is setting up with a yesterday's low sweep. All right, so you see I'm trying to work on this bearish, right? But holding that, with a short leash, as they would say, right? Right. And as you get lower, down in this demand zone down in here, below yesterday's low, there's a trap, right? is a trap, because even though we're dropping, are we breaking any structure at all? No, we're not breaking any structure on the high time frames, right? So that's what we're trying to do here in terms of trap, right? So, you know, if this short doesn't even work out, I wouldn't even be surprised, because we're in a bull market, okay? Even though we're dropping, it looks like it's going to just continue down. We have to put that into perspective. This is just a pullback still in the context of an uptrend, okay? So for today, you know, make sure you map out SPX 6450 handle, 6445 handle, because this could be a liquidity sweep lower bear trap, trapping bears to go bullish down in here. Bearish trap to get bullish. AL sauce. No, it's all good to ask questions. I'm just, I'm staying for Google. Oh my God, that's the second day. Let's Google. Anybody snack some Google? If you want to see what a beautiful fall through looks like, look at Google today. TP, Butte. High, low at the all-time highs right now. Beautiful impulse correctional pullback. Beautiful right there. There's a liquidity map. Y'all on TikTok don't know about that. VIX off its highs. Light short spies. Tight leash on that. VIX on VIX lower. Is VWAP, so just be patient. We could easily, we could easily just like pop right above there. We got VWAP right there. And so if I connect the dots and marry the SPX 64, what was it, 45 level. This would be a good one today, potentially. What does that align with on the S&P? Why is this not changing? Come on. There we go. So I got the SPX 30-minute time frame here on the left. You got daily low, yesterday's low right here. Okay, so any equal to or new low, I'm going to TP some of these puts. But as we get lower down into, especially if we break yesterday's low, I'm going to unload some puts, bring my size a lot lower. We could just break yesterday's low real quick and trap for a liquidity sweep and pop right back up. So make sure you're TPing lower down here. Now, as far as, because I'm not going to be able to be here to manage this with you folks in here, right? But what I'm trying to do here is take this SPX, okay, 64, call it 50, 64, 45 level right here, right, and line that up with where that is on the S&P futures, right? So this level was formed on Tuesday, August 26th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, give or take, 2:30, give or take. But we got that nice little pop, that new pop into a new high right there, right? So nice little level right there. So I'm going to do Tuesday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go back to the S&P futures. Where's Tuesday? 2 something odd time. 2:30 to 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, right there. See Tuesday, right, this Tuesday, August 26th, about 2:30. And wow, we already have that mapped out, right? The impulse, debasing in the impulse. Now that already got tagged, right? 64.60, we already had that planned yesterday. Futures tagged it, but is it still fresh on SPX, folks? Is it still fresh on SPX? Give me yes or no for my Phantoms members. All right, that's still fresh on SPX, has not hit. So you notice that would be a Globex trap on futures. Futures on the right would be breaking the Globex low, coming into that impulse, basing impulse right here on the left. Okay. And at the same time, at that time, because I cross-referenced the time, the exact time, that would also be breaking below yesterday's low for a sweep into a level of demand. Okay. And that so we have two setups that are lined up appropriately aligned in futures and in the spot market SPX. Now the challenge is, are we going to get there today? Right. And that's why that's why, I don't even really, these bot puts right now, I did it in SPY because I'm not really convicted that I don't have conviction that this market's going to continue lower. So this is what I'm saying, right? Even all this week when even Phantom members like, hey man, this market's dropping, man, okay. And it's not really doing any damage there. All right. That little drop right there didn't do any damage in terms of any structure, even on a very, very, very small time frame basis. Okay. Now I will say, a little choppy here, right? We have chop here, high, right? Chop, chop, chop. So just be patient. But if we're going to sift out for more liquidity, okay, this 64.60, 64.55 in the S&P futures, it's a beautiful. That's going to line up with the SPX 64.45, 64.50 here in SPX. Yeah, that's a good one there. All right. The question is, are we going to get down there potentially today? All right, Goog on fire. Dennis Clark, good job. I see you on YT, on the stream on YT. Taking a sip of coffee here. This is the site here. I will say I'm streaming multiple platforms here. Oh man, TikTok is so cringe. Here's the link. All right, go to that site right there. And I'm live right here. And that'll take you to this webpage, right? Click on register. And it's actually today. It's actually today, I believe, right? Thursday, August 28th, which is today, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Name, email, you could register with a phone number there. You'll be able to get a link sent to you to attend tonight, it's free 90-minute session, give or take, hosted by Mr. Black or Mr. Green. You can find them on TikTok as well and on socials there. You can read this out, how professionals analyze the markets, right? We're all professional traders here, myself, Mr. Blue, Green, Black. All right, institutional demand supply, multi-direction, up, down, sideways, stocks, futures, forex, options, not just about stocks, right? All asset classes. Day trading, scalping, all right, futures, options, all the way to long-term wealth management, building the wealth, right? Longer-term plays, holding for multiple years, right, on the multi time frames, etc. So check it out. You go through the process of what Phantom is all about, how we kind of operate, and if you like it, great. If not, it's cool as well. We're still going to be doing our thing, trading, ripping the tape here. Google is such an easy trade. How the Phantoms got that. All right, but I'm bullish. I'm bullish here. Amazon, the Mag 7 picking up a bit better. Mark Wahlberg, sign up now. go back to the cage. Oh no, that's Money Mike. Oh no, that is Money Mike. that is my Mike. Go back. Money Mike. Love you, bro. I'm thinking about you. I don't know if you heard. We're in the same cage, brother. Let's go back in our cage. Google on fire. One of us. One of us. Love you too, brother. Love you too. Yeah, I get the one time when I was at there on TikTok, I always get them confused. Mark Wahlberg and Money Money. All right, folks. Man, choppy. A little bit of a chop here. And it's kind of an annoying spot at the moment because we're inside of the middle of Globex range. So I'd suggest to be patient. We're still below view up on S&P futures. AVGO is looking like an ad here. Which I'm going to do. All right, add to the AVGO long call here. Reclaim back above view up. One of the stronger. Google just on fire. TP. And one of the things I'm going to do is, well, I think I just signed up for, I've been doing this a long time, but I haven't been doing any prop at all. But I think I just did, I can go into it today, but I'm going to be doing like an Apex thing here. So I'm going to be starting to go live. I got to work out my schedule on it. I'm looking to get more consistent. So story time. I'm looking to get a bit more consistent on TikTok with a kind of planned timing, so folks kind of know what we're when and why we're doing it. And it's also good to consistency to have a window of time to trade, right? So like it's a good consistency in time. So like it's good to trade. You know, I love trading the open, right? For example, right? So that 9:30 open to, well, I started futures in the morning, but that open 9:30 to about what 10:30, that first hour, beautiful, right? Try to hit the setups consistently during that time window. So what I'm trying to do here in the backdrop of TikTok world is structure some time out to where I can go consistently live, and we're just rip some short-term trading futures. And I'm probably going to work on SPX too, so it'll be like later in the afternoon after things kind of calm down a little bit. So anywhere between like next week or the following week, just to give you some insight. If you're interested, I'm going to put the times like in the TikTok bio so you folks know like when I'll be going live, etc. consistently. So I'm going to be doing S&P and mainly probably gold. All right, run a just run a prop system just on that, so you'll see how I kind of scalp that. All right, and maybe I'm thinking, just brainstorming here, spitballing, maybe like 2-hour window, give or take. Okay, so I'll give you an example, right? Like let's say that time would be on Mondays, for example, from like I don't know, as an example, like 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, but I want to make sure that I can commit to that consistently going forward, right? And so therefore we can scalp futures, right, between those times every Monday. And I'm going to be mainly doing the S&P, NASDAQ, and kind of gold. Cool. All right, and I'll show y'all. You know, I got a couple things that I got working in the background too, where I got like I'm kind of like building a very, because I use this like massive Excel sheet, but I'm building like a very simple one, so it'll be easier just to do position sizing accordingly. So because what I see in the industry right now, just with young traders trying to learn this, is they're just all over the place, man. They're not position sizing accordingly. They're not doing it the right way, right? So you know, I'm trying to at least help folks try to do this professionally. I've been doing this for quite some time there, right? So anyways, blah, blah, blah. Cool story, bro. Shut up and trade, right? So, but that said, my time is out right now. Trade safe. It's very rangy right now, so be a bit more patient. You know, I've still got very light SPY puts there just working on that. If the if we reclaim VWAP right back up, I would not hesitate to cut those out very quickly. Okay, it doesn't mean I'm not going to necessarily flip immediately right back long. It is a little bit choppy. Okay, the the Mag 7 is slightly higher, but the SPX equal weighted is not. So it's really only a handful of mega cap FANG stocks that are pulling it up right now, and it's not Nvidia, right? It's not Nvidia. Google, AVGO, Apple's kind of holding some bids, Amazon, etc. So that's a very light, thin market. Now that doesn't mean that we're not going to potentially go up. Okay, but I got that daily VWAP right there in blue. That's going to give me that that to kind of line in the sand, if you will. So if we don't get back above that and reclaim that, okay, then I'm not looking to go bullish here. However, my phantoms will know liquidity-wise. All right, we're kind of just we're on an impulse move lower down here on a very small time frame, but we're still on a high, low up, but we're on a impulse move lower for the day. Okay, but this is a correctional move here for the overall higher time frame here. Okay, so I'm hoping that we can potentially get some new liquidity in the event that we don't reclaim VWAP here. Anytime that we get anytime if we do get it equal to a new low, be sure to take profit on those puts. This would be great in the event that it got down here potentially, because it'll provide some space, some movement, and some volatility, right? So we'll see. We'll potentially see if that happens. It looks like it wants to kind of break this right now, but it's not right now. So right now we're on a. You have to be patient and wait. Okay, we have this impulse move here. This is the corrective structure. Okay, against that impulse move lower just for today. All right, but remember, this is an impulse lower move down. This is the corrective structure here. Okay, we could potentially have an equal to or new low. Okay, buy to take profit, buy to cover from shorts, etc. What you just talked about. This is recorded on the YT channel. Okay, and not stop loss until if we snap above VWAP. If not, I get stopped out. Maybe chop, and I'll rebalance to see if we snap that. Okay, but right now, still holding these. No reason to get out right now because we are just corrective structure. But remember, this corrective structure, this impulse and this corrective structure, this impulse move lower is down. But look at the higher time frames, folks. All right. That's a 2-minute impulse move down, but this is a 60-minute, 30-minute, right, 4-hour, what have you, correctional move. Okay, so what's stronger, the higher time frame correctional move into demand, or a smaller time frame impulse move, new lower low, potential correction, and if we get a new lower low here. So this is a 2-minute here on the right. This is the small time frame equal to or new low as we're getting into. If we were to make a new impulse leg lower, we're getting into the demand zone that popped into a new high on the intermediate 60-minute, 30-minute time frame here. Okay, in the overall context of a major uptrend move or market. All right, blah blah blah. I'll see some of y'all soon. Hey man, I appreciate the likes and follows on TikTok. I guess that's what I'm supposed to say. I'm not a TikToker. I'm terrible at it. I suck. So I'm not here to be TikTok famous. I'm here to rip some tape and train people who want to be trained. And if not, that's cool. All right, folks, hold your cards tight. I'll see some of y'all folks later today for Phantoms, and tomorrow morning, God willing, live trade room. Let's rip it. Blue out. Trade Phantoms. Cheers.